Okay, for the first problem here, we just have a very simple 2x plus 5 equals 11, so we subtract 5 from both sides. And now we have 2x is equal to 6. And then we divide both sides by 2, and we get x is equal to 3. And what we're looking for, this is our final step, where we just get x on one side isolated, not multiplied by anything, or really just multiplied by 1. And so everything we're doing is just to get it to that point. So here, let's say for the next one, where we would have 3x minus 7 equals 10. So now the first thing we'll do, again, we're going to clear out the numbers from one side. So we're going to divide or add 7 to both sides and get 3x equals 17. And then we'll divide by 3 and we'll get x, our final goal again, equals 17 over 3. And we're just going to leave this as an improper fraction. Now that also happens to be equal to 5 2/3, or 5.67 if we round to 2 decimal places, but we're just going to stick with the fraction for now. Okay, the next one, the difference, it has numbers and x's on both sides. So we have to get x's on one side, numbers on the other. So we'll get x's on one side by subtracting 2x from both sides. And that means we're left here with 3x. We still have the minus 2 is now equal to 2x minus 2x is just 0, so we don't have to put anything there. So all we have left here is 7. Now we add the 2 to both sides, and we get 3x is equal to 9. We divide both sides by 3, and we get x is equal to 3. Okay, same situation here. So we're going to subtract the 2x from both sides. And what we'll end up with then is 4x plus 5 is equal to 12. We then subtract the 5 from both sides, and that gives us 4x is equal to 7. We divide both sides by 4, and that's going to give us x is equal to 7 over 4. Okay, for this next one here, we have numbers only on this side, but what we have is we have an x term and another x term on the same side. So we first need to combine them. So we could think of this as 3x plus 2x minus 5 is equal to 10. And so we know that these two combine to become 5x. We still have the minus 5 equals 10. That gives us 5x is equal to 15 because we'll add 5 to both sides. And then we'll get, after dividing by 5, we will get x is equal to 3. We have a similar situation here, except that we have x's on both sides and we have two x terms on the left side. So we will combine them again. So we have 9x minus 2x minus 7 equals 3x plus 1. So this gives us 7x minus 7 equals 3x plus 1. Now we'll subtract 3x from both sides. That gives us 4x minus 7 equals 1. We'll add 8 to both sides, and we get 4x is equal to, x is equal to, we're going to add 7 to both sides. We're going to get 4x is equal to 8, which means that x, when we divide both sides by 4, x will be equal to 2. Okay. All right, moving right along here. Okay, now one of the things that we see, the difference here is that we have a fractional coefficient. The easiest way to deal with that is just look at what the denominator is and multiply everything by that denominator. So we're going to multiply this entire equation by 2. And that means that everything in it is going to get multiplied by 2. Multiply everything by 2. So 2 times 1/2 x is just 1x or x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And that's equal to 2 times 2x is 4x. And then 2 times 1 is plus 2. And now we have an equation that looks like ones we've already done. So we will subtract x from both sides, and we'll get negative 10 equals 3x plus 2. We'll subtract 2 from both sides. We get negative 12 equals 3x. When we divide by 3, we get negative 4 is equal to x. So we have x equals -4. Okay, now on the left side we have parentheses, and basically what this means is that this sign right here means that everything inside the parentheses has to have its sign reversed. So we have 3x, and since inside the parentheses 2x is positive, now it's going to become negative. Since inside the parentheses 4 is negative, now it's going to become positive, equals x. Now, again, we do a combining here, so we have 3x minus 2x equals x, plus 4 is equal to x. We subtract x from both sides, we get 4 is equal to 0, and this is impossible, so this one is no solution. Okay, so let's go to the next page. Okay, so here we have a more complicated situation where we have parentheses on both sides. All right, we're going to distribute here. So we have 2 times x, 2 times -4. The signs don't change because 2 is positive. So we have 2x minus 8 plus 5 equals 3x. And again, this is negative here, so we have -2 and then a positive x. And then we still have the plus 1. So let's combine. This becomes 2x minus 3 equals, we have a 3x and a plus x gives us 4x. And we have a -2 and a positive 4 gives us positive 2. And so that gives us, oh, sorry, my mistake. Big mistake here. This is 3x minus 2 plus x, and this should be a plus 1. And so when we combine, we get over here, instead of what I have a -2 and a positive 1, and those combine to give us -1. Okay, we'll subtract 2x from both sides, and we get over here -3. Over here we get 2x minus 1. We'll add 1 to both sides. We get -2 equals 2x. Divide both sides by 2, get x equals -1. Okay, now this one, there's a couple ways to do it. The first is what we've been doing, which is to say, all right, we'll distribute here. We get 2 times x is 2x, and then 2 times -3 is -6 equals 0. 2x is equal to 6 by adding 6 to both sides. We divide both sides by 2, and we get x is equal to 3. Alternatively, we look at this and we see, all right, we have one thing multiplied by another equals 0. The only way that happens is if either the 2 is equal to 0, which is of course impossible, or the x minus 3 is equal to 0, which means that x again would have to be 3. Okay. Similar idea here in that we have two things multiplied together equals 0. The only way that can happen is if either x minus 1 is equal to 0 or x minus 4 is equal to 0. So this situation here, we have one term multiplied by another term equals 0, actually makes it very easy to solve, because the only possible solutions are x would be equal to 1, which would make the first of these 0, or x is equal to 4, which would make the second of these 0. So we actually, in this case, have two solutions. Okay, 2 over x equals 10. So again, we're dealing with fractions. So let's multiply both sides by the denominator of x. That'll give us 2 equals 10x. Now we'll divide both sides by 10 to get 2 over 10 is equal to x. And that's our final answer here, although we could also say that 2/10 is equal to 1 over 5 by dividing both top and bottom by 2. Okay, now this one is a case where what we want to do is we want to do this cross multiplication. And the idea there is that when we have two fractions that are equal to each other, as is the case here, the denominator of one times the numerator of the other, or x times x, is equal to the other numerator, 12, times the other denominator of 3. So that gives us that x squared is equal to 36. So we need two numbers that multiply to 30, a number that when multiplied by itself is equal to 36. So we know that one of those numbers is the square root of 36 is equal to 6. The other one, though, that we have to keep in mind is that x could also equal -6, since -6 times -6 is equal to 36. -6 times -6. The negative times the negative gives us a positive, so we end up with positive 36. So these are our two solutions here. Finally, we have this last one where we have x squared minus 4 equals 0, so we'll add 4 to both sides. X squared equals 4. And so x is equal to the square root of 4, or 2, because 2 times 2 is equal to 4. But then just as in the number 13, we also have that -2 times -2 is also equal to 4, so x could also be equal to -2. Thus, we have our two solutions.